12 timeless Stoic lessons to overcome fear, anxiety, and live with courage. By Sculpted Grace. Introduction: The silent battle for the mind. Every person walks through storms no one else can see. Some call them anxiety, some call them uncertainty, and some simply call them life. We try to control everything: our image, our relationships, our future, yet we remain haunted by a quiet unease, as though peace is always one step away. The Stoics understood this ache. They lived in turbulent times, surrounded by loss, war, and betrayal, yet they discovered an inner fortress, a state of mind untouched by circumstance. Their philosophy was not cold or detached, but disciplined and freeing. They didn't escape life, they embraced it fully, learning to dance with its unpredictability instead of resisting it. This is the path we walk now. These 12 lessons are not commandments but reflections, ancient truths reawakened for modern lives. Each one is a key, unlocking strength where fear once lived, calm where chaos once ruled, and wisdom where confusion once reigned. If you can learn to live them, not merely read them, you'll find what Marcus Aurelius called the mind without disturbance. Not a mind without feeling, but one that has learned to rise above it. Lesson 1: Control what you can, release what you can't. The first and perhaps most liberating Stoic truth is this: peace begins when you separate what is yours to command from what is not. The world will always move in ways you can't predict. People will change, events will unfold beyond your grasp, and fate will write chapters you didn't plan for. Yet within that chaos lies a small, unshakable circle of control: your thoughts, your actions, your integrity. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." This sounds simple, but it is the foundation of all Stoic strength. Anxiety blooms when we forget this boundary. We suffer because we try to command the uncontrollable: other people's opinions, time, destiny. The moment we surrender what isn't ours, clarity returns. We realize that while the universe is vast and unpredictable, the domain of the mind is our kingdom. Imagine a sailor on rough seas. The wind, the waves, the storm, all beyond his power. Yet the ropes, the sails, the rudder, these are his. The wise sailor focuses only on what he can steer. The fool curses the sea. The Stoic is the sailor who learns to adjust his sails, not demand calmer winds. In life, you will lose things you love, you will face situations you cannot fix, but you can always control how you respond. Every time you pause instead of reacting, act with virtue instead of impulse, you reclaim your strength. To control what you can and release what you can't is not defeat, it's the beginning of real freedom. Lesson 2: Courage, acting despite fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. The Stoics viewed courage as the foundation of a meaningful life: the power to confront pain, loss, and uncertainty with dignity. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This is courage in its purest form, to stand in the present, aware of risk, yet willing to move forward. The courageous person does not deny danger but accepts it as the price of freedom. Think of Ernest Shackleton and his crew, stranded in the frozen wilderness of Antarctica. Their ship trapped in ice, death surrounding them at every turn, yet Shackleton's calm leadership saved every life. He didn't act from blind optimism but from clarity and resolve. That is Stoic courage, clear-eyed, grounded, and purposeful. In your own life, courage may mean having an honest conversation you've avoided, pursuing a dream despite self-doubt, or walking away from something that no longer serves you. Every act of courage weakens fear's hold and strengthens your soul's resolve. To the untrained heart, life feels unfair, a series of random trials designed to break us. But the Stoic looks at life differently. They do not merely accept fate, they love it. Amor fati, love of fate, is not passive resignation. It is the fierce embrace of reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This is the Stoic way, to transform adversity into fuel. To look at loss and say, "Even this serves me." To see rejection and whisper, "Even this teaches me." Think of Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That is amor fati in living form, the art of alchemy through suffering. It means trusting that life, in its wisdom, has given you exactly what you need to evolve. Every failure sharpens humility. Every heartbreak refines compassion. Every delay strengthens patience. To love your fate is not to enjoy pain, but to recognize its sacred role in shaping you. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but "What is this asking me to become?" When you can say thank you to fate, not just in triumph, but in trial, you've transcended fear itself. Lesson 3: The power of perspective. Fear grows in the mind when we mistake perception for truth. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In other words, suffering comes not from events, but from how we interpret them. The Stoic practice of reframing allows us to see reality without distortion. When something frightening happens, instead of asking "Why me?" the Stoic asks, "What can this teach me?" Consider a person who loses their job unexpectedly. To many, this seems disastrous, a collapse of security. But reframed through Stoic eyes, it becomes an lesson. For the obstacle is the way. Most people see obstacles as interruptions. The Stoic sees them as the material of growth. Ryan Holiday popularized this truth, but its roots stretch back to Marcus Aurelius, who said, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. Every difficulty, every failure, every closed door, these are not punishments, but teachers. They reveal what you are made of. They demand strength, patience, and creativity. Think of Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When asked about failure, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is Stoicism in motion, the ability to turn frustration into progress. the obstacle itself becomes your forge. The Stoic doesn't wait for an easy road, they walk the hard one with courage, knowing every stone strengthens their stride. Next time you face difficulty, ask not why me, but what is this trying to make me? Life doesn't block your path, it is the path. Lesson 5: Discipline over emotion. The Stoics understood something that modern life often forgets: emotions are powerful servants but terrible masters. To live wisely, one must learn not to be ruled by them. Anger, fear, envy, they are like wild horses, useful when guided, destructive when left unchecked. Discipline is not about suppression, but direction. Seneca wrote, "No man is free who is a slave to his passions." The Stoic does not deny emotion but examines it. They ask, does this feeling help me act with virtue or cloud my judgment? In a world that glorifies instant reaction, the disciplined person becomes a rare presence, calm amid chaos, patient amid provocation. Consider Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire under constant threat and betrayal, yet remained composed. His meditations were not written for others, but as reminders to himself: stay steady, stay rational, stay kind. In our time, discipline means choosing stillness when the world demands outrage, integrity when temptation whispers, and consistency when motivation fades. Imagine a young athlete training before dawn, her friends still asleep. Every repetition, every drop of sweat is a quiet rebellion against weakness. Or a father resisting the urge to lash out when frustrated, choosing instead to respond with understanding. These are modern Stoics in disguise. Discipline is the invisible armor that shields the mind from chaos. It is built not through grand gestures but daily choices: waking up when it's easier to sleep, focusing when distraction calls, forgiving when anger burns. The Stoic knows that emotions, when mastered, become fuel. But when indulged, they become chains. To live with discipline is to reclaim your sovereignty, to ensure that the storms inside you serve your ship, not sink it. Lesson 6: Virtue over pleasure. The ancient Stoics believed the purpose of life was not pleasure, but virtue. Pleasure is fleeting, virtue endures. Pleasure can be stolen, but virtue cannot. To them, the only true good was moral excellence, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These were not abstract ideals but practical guides for daily living. Epictetus taught, it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. When we chase pleasure, we give power to external things: status, wealth, approval. When we live by virtue, our happiness becomes untouchable. True peace, the Stoics believed, is not found in indulgence but in alignment, living in harmony with reason and moral purpose. Imagine a politician who chooses honesty even when deception would secure power, or a friend who tells a difficult truth rather than a comfortable lie. These are small acts of virtue that echo through eternity. In modern life, where pleasure is packaged, sold, and consumed endlessly, virtue is rebellion. It means choosing discipline over indulgence, character over comfort. The Stoic sees pleasure as a byproduct, not a goal, the quiet satisfaction of living rightly. As Seneca wrote, "He who seeks wisdom is already wise, he who thinks he has found it is already a fool." Virtue is not about perfection but progress. Each time you resist what is easy to choose what is right, you shape your soul. And in the stillness of integrity, pleasure returns not as an escape, but as peace. Lesson 7: Perception shapes reality. What we see is not the world itself but the story we tell about it. Two people can face the same event: one sees tragedy, the other opportunity. The Stoics called this the discipline of perception, the practice of seeing things as they are, not as fear or desire paints them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed." This wasn't denial, it was mastery of perspective. Perception is the lens through which we experience life. Change the lens, and the world transforms. The Stoics trained themselves to see obstacles as lessons, insults as tests of patience, and loss as reminders of impermanence. Picture a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To one person, it's just a rock. To the sculptor, it's potential a statue waiting to emerge. Life is that marble, and perception is the chisel. When you face rejection, failure, or heartbreak, your first instinct may be despair. But pause. Ask yourself, is this truly a curse, or could it be a teacher? Viktor Frankl, imprisoned in Auschwitz, found meaning by changing how he perceived his suffering. He realized that while his body could be confined, his attitude could not. When you master perception, you become unshakable. Life may bruise you, but it cannot break you without your consent. The Stoic eye sees through appearances, choosing clarity over distortion, acceptance over resistance. In the end, your Lesson 9: Indifference to praise and blame. One of the greatest sources of anxiety is caring too much about what others think. Praise inflates us, blame deflates us, and in both we lose ourselves. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, but serenity. A calm indifference to external approval or criticism. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." The Stoic strives to act rightly, not to be seen as right. For what is fame but noise? What is judgment but another's fleeting thought? When you tie your peace to others' opinions, you hand them the keys to your mind. Imagine an artist who creates for truth, not applause. Or a leader who does what is moral, not popular. These are rare souls and they are free. Stoicism teaches us to measure success not by recognition but by integrity. When insulted, the Stoic asks, "Is it true?" If it is, they correct themselves. If not, they ignore it. Either way, they remain unshaken. This detachment does not make one cold but centered. The approval of others is fickle, the approval of conscience endures. When you cease chasing validation, you begin living authentically. Praise and blame become passing winds, unable to move the mountain of your inner calm. Lesson 10: Live in accord with nature. To the Stoics, nature meant more than forests or rivers, it meant the rational order of existence. To live in accord with nature was to live in harmony with truth, reason, and virtue. Everything in nature fulfills its purpose without complaint. The tree does not envy the mountain, the river does not resist its course. But humans, gifted with reason, often fight against the flow of life. We resist change, deny mortality, and chase illusions. Stoicism invites us to return to our nature, to accept impermanence, act with wisdom, and contribute to the greater good. Imagine walking through a storm. You cannot stop the rain, but you can choose how to walk in it. You can curse the sky or dance in the downpour. Living in accord with nature is that choice, the art of surrender without defeat. It means recognizing that pain, loss, and joy are all part of the same current. When you stop demanding that life obey your desires, peace finds you naturally. The Stoics sees themselves as a part of the cosmos, not its master. To live rightly, then, is to live truthfully, to act with reason, love, and acceptance. When you align your life with the flow of nature, resistance fades, and serenity takes its place. Lesson 11: The Virtue of Service. The Stoics never saw philosophy as self-centered. True wisdom, they said, must serve humanity. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, what is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. The Stoic sees life as a shared endeavor. The good of the individual is bound to the good of all. Service, then, is not sacrifice, it's alignment with the natural order. Lesson 12: The Freedom of Acceptance. The final Stoic lesson is the freedom found in acceptance. Life will never unfold exactly as we wish. People will disappoint us, plans will fail, and time will take everything we love. Yet within that truth lies liberation. Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do." Acceptance is not weakness, it is strength beyond measure. It is saying, I may not control the wind, but I will adjust my sails. When we stop fighting reality, we reclaim our energy to act wisely within it. Think of a man losing his business, or a woman grieving a loved one. Resistance says, this should not have happened. Acceptance says, it has happened, now what can I do? Acceptance does not erase pain but transforms it into purpose. It allows healing to begin. The Stoic who accepts life as it is walks with serenity, no longer a victim of circumstance but a student of it. Acceptance is the highest form of courage because it requires humility, the willingness to bow to what is real. And in that humility, you find ultimate freedom, peace not dependent on outcomes, but rooted in understanding. Conclusion: The sculpting of the soul. The Stoics believed life was a work of art, and you the artist. Every hardship is a chisel, every challenge a brush stroke shaping your inner sculpture. The lessons of control, courage, virtue, perception, and acceptance are not ancient relics, they are tools for modern peace. To live stoically is to live deliberately, awake, disciplined, and unbroken by fate. So when fear rises, breathe deeply. When loss comes, bow gracefully. When joy arrives, embrace it fully. This is the Stoic way, not to escape life, but to master it. And as sculpted grace reminds you, peace isn't found in the absence of storms, but in learning how to sail through them with dignity, strength, and love.